Team Fortress 2 is a game that came out over 16 years ago and still maintains a steady player base with an active community. In this game, there are 9 playable classes for a player to choose from, each of which with their own unique items that affect stats and abilities. This video is meant to help players new to the Medic class understand the basics of the game and how to play the class effectively. I aim to break down the essential information someone new to the class or the game itself would need to know in order to have a somewhat successful experience as the Medic. Before getting into the meat of this video though, I want it to be known the last time I played TF2 consistently was years ago. A lot of what's in this video is the result of research and memory. I am not an authority on how this game should be played, I am simply putting forth information that I deem to be useful. At the end of the day, the only thing that should matter in this game is having fun. I may be wrong on some things. If I am, feel free to correct me in the comments. As this series goes on, I will no doubt have more modern, consistent experience with the game and potentially different views on points I make in this video. Disclaimer over, on to the video.
Chapter 1, Expect to Die.
Team Fortress 2 isn't typically a game where you survive the whole match, and it's commonly said you don't even begin to reach your potential until you have at least 2,000 hours in the game. You will die, a lot, and that's just part of the learning process. Don't let it discourage you. The Medic has a middle-of-the-line health pool with a default of 150 health points. This means that he will die fast without a meat shield or cover to hide behind. Stock rocket or grenade launcher will kill you in 2 hits if you're hit directly, a flamethrower can kill you in a single second, and Heavy's minigun can kill you in just a matter of seconds if his bullets land. The Medic, despite not being able to keep up when it comes to dealing damage, is a high priority target. He quickly and mobily dispenses healing to teammates. On top of that, once he charges Uber, he can give the target of his healing a buff. This makes him the focus for players interested in getting kills as quickly as possible and stopping a team's advance. Not all hope is lost though, as Medic has a default run speed of 107%, making him tied with Spy for the second fastest class in the game behind the Scout, which has a default run speed of 133%. Speaking of Scout, he can be the best friend or biggest enemy to a Medic. If you're in a tough spot and there's a friendly Scout nearby, you can simply attach your Medi-Gun to him and match his movement speed, making for a quick escape. However, with Scout's speed, an enemy Scout can attack and kill you quickly with little you can do to defend yourself. That being said,
Chapter 2, Tools of the Raid.
the Medic, like every class in TF2, has a large array of weapons at his disposal. Without counting stock Reskins, the Medic has 80 unique combinations of weapons he can use. I'll quickly break down all of the weapons he has at his disposal, starting with his
Medi-Guns.
The stock Medi-Gun is your go-to all-situation tool for healing and overhealing teammates. The default Ubercharge gives you and your Medi-Gun target 8 seconds of invulnerability, allowing you to push into situations you ordinarily would not be able to. While Ubercharging, you and your heal target can't take a point, push a cart, or carry the intelligence and capture the flag.
The Kritzkrieg.
The Kritzkrieg is a good Medi-Gun for pushes and a team you have confidence in. Instead of invulnerability, you grant your Medi-Gun target 8 seconds of guaranteed critical hits. It charges 25% faster than the stock Medi-Gun, and unlike the stock Medi-Gun, you aren't prevented from completing objectives during the duration of Uber.
The Quick Fix.
The Quick Fix is a Medi-Gun that focuses on healing quickly and staying with your patient instead of giving buffs. The Medic is dragged with soldiers or demo man, rocket or sticky jumping respectively. Overheal is decreased by 50%, while healing is 40% faster. Ubercharge builds 10% faster, and instead of invulnerability, it provides 3 times the healing speed of a normal for 8 seconds. This Medi-Gun prevents objective completion for the patient and the Medic while the Uber is active.
The Vaccinator.
The Vaccinator is a Medi-Gun that provides specific damage negation buffs. 3 10% negations are available: fire, bullet, and explosion damage reduction, and can be cycled through by hitting the reload key. Ubercharge builds 67% faster, Overheal feels 66% slower, and Ubercharge builds off of overhealed patients 33% slower. The Ubercharge does not provide invulnerability for 8 seconds, instead it lasts 2.5 seconds and provides a 75% damage reduction against the currently selected damage negated type. It also completely denies critical hits of that damage type. With that out of the way, we can move on to the damage dealing weapons, starting with
Primary weapons.
the syringe gun is the stock Medic primary, with 40 syringes loaded at a time and allowing you to carry 150 syringes in reserve. It does 10 damage per syringe and 30 damage on a crit, and shoots 10 syringes a second, allowing for a hypothetical maximum damage of 300 damage per second and a minimum of 100 damage per second granted you hit all your shots. This gun is pretty basic and has no buffs or effects specific to it.
The Blutsauger.
The Blutsauger is a syringe gun that is functionally the same as the stock syringe gun. However, it differs from the syringe gun in the buffs and debuffs it gives the player. When hitting an enemy with the Blutsauger, it will award the medic with 3 health per syringe that hit. However, this comes with the downside of reducing the medic's natural regeneration at first by 66%, taking it from 3 HP to 1 HP a second, and then only 33% from 6 HP to 4 HP, depending on how long the medic is regenerating. Overall, this weapon rewards you for hitting shots, but is more often than not probably going to be more of a hindrance than a boost, given you primarily use the Medi-Gun.
The Crusader's Crossbow.
The Crusader's Crossbow is a unique syringe gun in that it only has 1 syringe loaded at a time and 38 syringes that can be held in reserve. However, with this difference comes a special mechanic. Instead of only dealing damage, you can also heal teammates if you hit them with it. Healing and damage scale with distance. The further away, the better. Damage ranges from 38 HP to 75 HP on hit. And default healing ranges from 75 HP on hit to 150 HP on hit. This gun also reloads when not in use, so every time you switch to it, it'll be ready to fire. This weapon can't headshot enemies.
The Overdose.
The Overdose has the same ammo count and reserve as the stock syringe gun, however it does less damage, 9 damage base and 26 damage critical. It fires about 10 syringes a second, and when held, it provides a speed boost up to an additional 20% run speed depending on the current charge of Uber. Now, on to the last resort weapons, the ones you only use when you're in a pinch or things are a little too close for comfort. I'm talking about the
Melee weapons.
The Bone Saw is the medic's stock melee weapon. It does 65 damage on a normal swing and 195 on a crit.
The Frying Pan.
The Frying Pan is functionally the same as the Bone Saw, but it looks like a frying pan.
Reskins.
Stop
Reskins.
but you can set enemies image on kill.
The Ubersaw.
The Ubersaw is a melee weapon that allows for 25% Uber charge on hit. There's a unique taunt on the Ubersaw that causes a taunt kill and fills the Uber charge meter completely. The weapon swings 20% slower than the stock Bone Saw.
The Vita-Saw.
The Vita-Saw allows for a medic to keep some of his Uber charge after dying. The amount of Uber charge retained is linked to the weapon's unique organ harvesting system, which allows for up to 60% retained charge after death. Organs are harvested by landing hits on an enemy with the weapon.
The Amputator.
The Amputator is a melee weapon that deals 20% less damage than stock, but gives the medic a regeneration of 3 HP when in use, and has a unique taunt that heals allies in a given AoE for 25 HP up to 75 HP depending on if your ally is in combat.
The Solemn Vow.
The Solemn Vow allows the medic to see the health of enemies, with the only drawback being that the weapon swings 10% slower than stock. Now that we know all the weapons and have an overview of what they do, we can move on to a more strategy-oriented discussion, such as
Chapter 3. Positioning.
the Medi-Gun has a fairly good range on it. This means you don't need to be right next to the target of your healing, nor should you be. The best place for you to be in most cases is behind or beside a teammate, at as far of a distance as you can consistently maintain. If you find yourself without a teammate to help keep you alive, 9 times out of 10 your best strategy is to turn about face and run to your nearest teammate. While you can backpedal, it's slower than your forward running speed and you're at greater risk of whoever you're trying to get away from catching up to you or you getting caught on something you can't see and getting sent back to the respawn room because of it. Medics should play with their team. Most teams will try to keep their medics alive, and this added security allows for you to make slightly riskier plays to make sure teammates get the healing they need. Jumping is also a good idea if you're ever getting shot at. The likelihood of the other team landing their shots decreases, and if something like a rocket hits you while you're still in the air, it can actually benefit you by sending you backwards with knockback. This can put you into a more safe position away from the enemy team. It's also a good idea to think about where the nearest medkit is. Even though medic has natural regeneration, it's still good to know where quick chunks of HP are if you need them. When you see a medkit, take note of it. It will, without a doubt, come in handy later.
Chapter 4. Healing target priority.
Healing priority is usually put into a list. Heal X class and Y class before Z class. I don't subscribe to this in most cases and think you should use it as more of a suggestion and not something you always have to follow. That being said, there are higher priority targets to heal than others. Generally, you want to keep your team alive. This means you should capitalize on a somewhat hidden mechanic of crit healing. In simple terms, when a teammate is about to die, you can heal them faster to prevent this. This scales with the amount of total health they have. So the more health the class has at full health, the faster they'll be healed whenever they're at low health. So if the opportunity is safe to go after, try to heal teammates at critically low health first. If no teammates are critically low, you should assess what player is doing the most for your team in any given situation, and establish your own hierarchy of priority. Decide throughout the match how you think you should disperse heals and go with it. If your team starts to suffer and you think it's because of you, reassess the priority you have when you heal your team.
Chapter 5. Express and General Dis.
The video is getting close to wrapping up now, but before we get to the outro, I just want to impart some tips and knowledge that might be helpful at a general level, not necessarily only medic specific either. Things like if you see an allied engineer working on a teleporter outside of spawn, it'll be more often not worth your time to temporarily switch to engineer, pull out your wrench, and help upgrade the teleporter to save your team some time later on. Medic is kind of a stressful role. Your team is counting on you to keep them alive. Just try not to get overwhelmed, as dying is something that happens in Team Fortress. If a teammate dies before you can save them, more often than not, it won't lose you the game. If you're new to the game or just haven't played in a while, try playing on community servers. The regular casual servers are kind of in disrepair right now, unfortunately. Hopefully, Valve will fix this, but as of right now, the community is banded together to ask for support the game currently isn't getting. I guess I didn't really touch on specific loadouts, just what the weapons do themselves. I might make videos later about this, but for starting out, the stock loadout is well-rounded and the most consistently good loadout for most classes. Once you familiarize yourself with stock, you can understand the specific up and downside of each option in your arsenal. Don't be afraid to experiment with different combinations in your loadout. Even if it's not what would be considered the best loadout, it's fine as long as you have fun with it. You can change your FOV in the console by typing FOV_desired followed by a number. I believe the default is 70 and the max is 90. You can also change the FOV of your view model by using viewModel_FOV followed by a number. You can tweak this however you want until you're happy with it. You can also make damage numbers that appear when you hit an enemy add together by using the command HUD_combat_text_batching 1. And if, for whatever reason, there are issues with the adding, you can use the command HUD_combat_text_batching_window 100.
Chapter 6. Our Production.
Like I said near the beginning of the video, take everything I said with a grain of salt. I haven't been an active player of this game for years. I do hope to get back into it and make more videos, mostly about the medic, but maybe other classes too if I ever feel like venturing into that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative. I put this video together with new players in mind, so, yeah.
Dread, it's